We pray for you, and this great crowd represents this great community.
That's a crowd at a vigil for shooting victims in Dayton last Sunday night, calling on the Republican Governor Mike DeWine to do something about gun violence. Now Governor DeWine has announced a plan to do that. Joining us now in Columbus, Ohio, his home state, Governor DeWine in this exclusive interview. And, sir, thank you for your time on this
Thank
Sunday.
you, Bill.
Let's see how much we can move through over the next 7 minutes or so on gun control. You've been aggressive on the issue for decades. Part of your proposal deals with the so-called red flag laws. I want to play for you and our audience an interview from this past week with the ex-girlfriend of the killer in Dayton, Ohio. Just listen to what she said.
I wasn't entirely surprised that he did something bad, that he ended up in the news. I just didn't think it would be for this.
As you know, she went on to say a lot more, and I'm using her comments as an example. Based on what you're proposing, how would you take that comment, get a judge's order, and then take the killer's gun away before he strikes, Governor?
Well, what we propose, we don't call a red flag order. What we call it is a personal protection order. And we use that term because it has built into it constitutional protections. You can't take someone's gun unless there's a judge that makes that determination. But what our law would say is if someone is a threat to themselves or a threat to others, then you can go into court. The family can. It's usually the family, frankly, that reports it. Or the police can go in. And I know, Bill, there's been a lot of emphasis on mental health here, but the truth is that 93% of people who have a severe mental health problem are not violent at all. In some cases, it would be a mental health issue. But our law would also say someone who has a propensity for violence, for example. Someone who is a chronic alcoholic. So there's a number of different things that could trigger it. The court would have to determine that person is a menace to themselves or to society.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't make a difference. They'll save lives.
I want to get back to mental health in a moment. I think you make a very interesting point. But your state house is run by Republicans. You know what the arguments are. They argue your ideas are open abuse. You get a lack of due process, especially what we just laid out right there, that you make people guilty before innocent. How do you prevent that?
You prevent it, Bill, by the way we've written the law. The previous governor tried what they call a red flag law. It did not have the procedure. It did not have the due process. We developed this particular bill in consultation with a number of our Second Amendment friends. They have always told me, look, we know there's some people that we need to separate them from their guns temporarily or maybe longer than that, but we're really worried about due process. We're worried about a neighbor getting mad at a neighbor and coming over and calling the police, and the police go confiscate the gun. So we put this together with them. It has due process in it. You have to go to court. A judge has to make that determination.
Many are suggestions center on mental health, and they focus on that. One of your ideas is to free up space in psychiatric hospitals. As a country, we've moved away from that. Do you think that was a mistake?
Well, we're not going to turn back the clock, Bill. I don't know whether we should or not, but we have to be realistic about this. We have a problem in Ohio. I don't know whether it's unique to Ohio or not, but in our state-run psychiatric hospitals, they're taken up primarily by people who are charged with misdemeanors, people who are not violent. And they're sent by court order to these psychiatric hospitals to actually teach them how to talk and listen to their own defense lawyer. Our proposal says, look, let's don't clog our psychiatric hospitals up with this. Let's get people in there who really need the help and who are being denied the ability to go in and now. And let's do this teaching of these individuals that courts are ordering. Let's do this in the community. We can do it that way. So our proposal will really open our psychiatric hospitals up to the people who really need it.
I picked two examples, and honestly, I could pick a dozen. Parkland, Florida, 2018, 17 dead. The killer described as a walking red flag, no action taken. Sutherland Springs, Texas, 2017, 26 dead. The killer had a criminal record there. Record was not updated, bought a gun. Air Force took responsibility after the fact. One case involves a red flag, another involves human error. Your state went for Donald Trump by 8 points, and he talked this week about making meaningful background checks. He said that repeatedly. Well, the killer in Dayton, Ohio, passed a background check, and he still murdered 9 people. So, Governor, what are we up against?
Well, Bill, I don't think that we can look at every case and say, okay, what do we have to do for this case? We have to look at all of them together, just as you did. We've got to do a better. We've got to do better in reaching people at a very, very young age. We have in the budget that was just passed by the General Assembly, and I congratulate them for giving us the money that we need. We have the ability now to arm our schools, give our schools the ability to have better counseling, more mental health. Virtually every one of these cases, as you said, somebody has looked up a long time ago and said, hey, this guy is given all the signs, antisocial behavior. This guy is a menace. And we need to be able to do something. The schools need the tools. We are now giving them the tools to do that. We're also doing something else. We're going to be monitoring and are monitoring social media to pick up these things when we see keywords that indicate that person is simply going to be a menace and may eventually, commit this violence.
Last point here, when we talk about laws and guns. In the last 12 months, Texas, they passed several laws related to gun violence. Most of them dealt with schools and school safety. Not one would have prevented the killer in El Paso from owning a gun. Is this about laws or is it about guns?
It's about a lot of different things. It's about people speaking up. One of the things that we're going to do after we get this legislation passed, and I believe we're going to get it passed, is we're going to broadcast this information. Look, if you see a problem, speak up. Get some help to that individual. Notify the police. Notify the mental health people or whoever need to be notified. Speak up. In the case of the guy in Bellbrook, Ohio, that committed these atrocities in Dayton, there were warnings long time ago that should have been heeded. We have provisions in our budget to make a difference. Look, I can't guarantee what we propose will eliminate every mass shooting. But what I can say is that every one of our proposals, we can get bipartisan support, Democrats and Republicans. We need to bring Ohio together. We are doing that, and we can get these things passed, and they will, each one of them, save lives.
Governor, thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Mike DeWine back there in Columbus. Our thoughts are with everyone back there in Ohio. Thank you, sir.